All right, perfect. For this spring enrollment extra live stream, I wanted to go over the filtering process, how I personally would go about a filtering process. So first things first, I want to talk about tomorrow, because that is mainly what we're going to go over, as in which pairs are interesting tomorrow when I'm going to look at the market tomorrow. Where tomorrow we have GBP news and we have US dollar news. So I'm going to be looking at GBP pairs and US dollar pairs. Then based on that, I want to look at right here which one is the most interesting based on the daily time frame mostly. Why the daily time frame? At the beginning of the week, you'll notice I mainly go over the monthly, go over the weekly time frame. Then once we arrive at those weekdays, so later on in the week, I mainly go over the daily and the 4-hour as well. And the reason for that is because we can't necessarily expect a new entry to occur when we arrive into a weekly fair value gap at the end of a particular week as well. So if we still want to find a good entry tomorrow, for example, then most likely it's going to happen off the daily time frame or the 4-hour time frame. So here on the dollar, what do we see? We see this daily fair value gap that is about to be created right there. So if we can create that daily value gap and we can sting into it as well, that could be very interesting tomorrow. That automatically tells me already that there might be a few Forex majors as well that could be very interesting. So let's go over the interest list right there. Let's look at the short list right there that we had already determined and the long list as well. If we take a look at GBP US dollar right here, what do we see? We also have this daily fair value gap sitting right there, which we can potentially continue lower off of. So that again is quite interesting heading into tomorrow. Is it more interesting than EU, than Euro US dollar? Let's take a look. Euro US dollar right here. Also again, quite interesting right there. Now, the only thing that worries me a little bit, and as a bit more advanced knowledge as well, is that on a Friday, usually it doesn't tend to be a trending day. If Friday is going to be a trending day, it's usually when we have volatility at the end of the week. And for this week, we did have volatility at the end of the week as well. But for example, here on EU, if Thursday already creates that sweep right there, that potential sweep, I'm not too certain if Friday already wants to continue lower right there. It might be heading into next week. We might continue lower, but Friday, not 100% certain right there. GBP Canadian dollar. Let's see, what do we have? We are coming off that weekly fair value gap right there. On the 4-hour, what do we see? On the 4-hour, we do have this 4-hour fair value gap, 4-hour sharp turn, which we can potentially continue lower off of. So in this scenario, if we do get a 4-hour fair value gap lower already heading into tomorrow, this could definitely be quite interesting. We did not have news supporting the ID today. So tomorrow with GBP news, this again could definitely be quite interesting. I do like that. It has the potential. Does it have the premium rate that we can right now continue lower off of? No, not just yet, but it definitely has potential. GBP New Zealand dollar, let's see. Well, we were looking at short at the beginning of the week right there. After we reach that daily value gap towards the left, we're seeing a big rejection. Can we continue higher off that daily value gap? I'm not too certain, but I'm also not too certain that we can continue lower right here. So for me, this is quite 50-50. And that means I personally would want to move it to the breakdown list instead. I'm not interested in getting involved. So look at the long list. The long list right here is Euro New Zealand dollar, Euro Canadian dollar, Euro JPY. So that already means that I'm not interested in doing anything right there because they don't have time supporting the ID tomorrow. Perfect. Then let's look at the waiting list as well. GBP, JPY, do we have anything interesting right here? We're coming off of that daily order block right there. We're seeing the 2 candle rejection right now in the making. Now, if we can follow through with a 4-hour fair value gap higher as well, that would be ideal. Because then that 4-hour fair value gap right there could be our boundary, could be our context area that we can follow through from. So that is ideally what I would like to see. And this then definitely can move from the waiting list towards the interest list because we also have news supporting the ID. So that could be very interesting as well. Russell, an example that we used yesterday, is again right now getting more interesting because we do have a new premium rate that we could potentially continue lower from. The only thing is that we are potentially trading against a sweep right there. So keep that in mind, that if we are talking about an interest list, a filtering process, we can take all those things into account because then simply said, if we compare those to other pairs, then GBP JPY, for example, if we get a 4 hour value gap higher, would be higher probability, in my opinion, than Russell or even EU or GU right there. Where this, because it doesn't overlap exactly with the lows that we just took right there, similar for EU right there, then for me, if GBP/JPY creates that 4 hour value gap, would be higher probability. Even GBP Canadian dollar right here, if it creates this 4 hour value gap going lower, would also be higher probability, in my opinion. So that is personally how I would go over the filtering process in a live example as well.